Hey, what's going on, Who Dat Nation? It is yours truly, TJ Jones. And yes, I am the host of the State of the Saints podcast. Thank you all so much for checking out the State of the Saints podcast, where we talk New Orleans Saints. Shouts out to everybody that's listening right now. Shouts out to everybody that is out and about getting themselves mentally ready for the Saints Week 13 matchup versus the Tampa Bay Buccaneers that will take place in prime time on Monday Night Football. The New Orleans Saints are a team right now that desperately need to win a football game. They desperately need to win these last 5 games in order for them to be, have an opportunity to make the playoffs. But it starts with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers, as of right now, are 5-6. They are ahead of the NFC South as of right now. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers are a team that has been struggling, just like the New Orleans Saints, just like other teams within the division. They have been struggling, trying to figure out what in the world are they going to do and what has happened to their season. The NFC South is bad. I don't think I'm telling anybody something that they don't already know. And as long as it is as bad as it is, the Saints have a mathematical chance of making the postseason, and they have a chance of winning the division. Last week, the New Orleans Saints did not score a point. They lost to the San Francisco 49ers by a score of 13-0. That game was embarrassing. A lot of members of the Who Dat Nation were disgusted. And to be quite honest with you, I've noticed there are not many people talking about this team as often as we did in years past. I mean, honestly, people are just like, oh, well, the Saints are playing. Okay, let's check it out. There's not much enthusiasm when it comes to that. Last week left a bad taste in the mouth of the Who Dat Nation, and they definitely want to get a little Listerine in there, and that Listerine can come in the form of points. So this is a crucial game. This is a division game. The New Orleans Saints, the last time they played the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, they lost. It was a nip and tuck game until like the last 7 minutes of the fourth quarter when things just kind of went off the rails. We know about Marshawn Lattimore and Mike Evans. Mike Evans pushes Marshawn Lattimore to the ground, and they begin to have a little bit of brawl on the field, and it got Marshawn Lattimore kicked out, got Mike Evans kicked out, got Mike Evans suspended for a game. But after Marshawn Lattimore goes out, the replacement for Marshawn Lattimore gets victimized for a touchdown by Tom Brady, and the rest is history. But the New Orleans Saints have an opportunity to beat the Tampa Bay Buccaneers because unlike some of these other teams that the Saints had matchups against, they match up really well versus the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The Saints have been structured to be able to go against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They have an opportunity to do some things against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers that most teams won't be able to do. But let's go ahead and look at the tail of the tapes. Let's go ahead and look at the tail of the tape between both of these teams. Okay, points per game, the Saints average about 20.8. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers, 18.2. Points allowed per game, 23.3 for the Saints, 18.5 for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Total yards, 362.8 to 350.4 for Tampa. Yards passing, 249.7 for the Saints, 277 for the Bucs. Yards rushing, 113.2 for the Saints, 73 yards for the Bucs. All right, pass yards allowed, 215 for the Saints, 214 for Bucs. Rush yards allowed, 129 for the Saints and 123 for the Bucs. So these teams are pretty much evenly matched. Offensive issues, they pretty much evenly match. The inability to run the ball, they kind of evenly match with that. Defensively and schematically, they pretty even. So this is going to come down to who is going to make the least mistakes. The New Orleans Saints have shown us this entire season that they can't get out of their own way. They constantly make mistakes. They constantly shoot themselves in the foot. And in this game, Tampa is going to capitalize on it. Now, I'm not going to say they're going to capitalize on it in touchdowns, but what they can do is if they can stop you from scoring, they can hold on to the football. And if they just so happen to get a field goal better than you or a touchdown more than you, then they can win this football game. The Saints are going to have to be efficient in this game. Now, they don't have to score a whole bunch of points because I don't expect for Tampa Bay to score a bunch of points. But what they need to do is be able to control the time of possession, and they need to come away with points. All right, even if it's field goals from time to time, I don't feel bad about saying that because Tampa's offense has been struggling as well. But you cannot go, you cannot go an entire game and wait into the third and fourth quarter to try to put up some points. Okay, Will Lutz last week had opportunity to make a field goal. He misses. The Saints had several opportunities to get into the red zone. It didn't happen. And they got in the red zone. They didn't score, rather. So you had opportunities, but you squandered them. And if you want to win this game versus the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, you cannot squander these opportunities. Guys are going to have to step up. This coaching staff is going to have to play fearlessly because, look, your season is on the line here. Okay, you can't be conservative. Conservative play is designed for week 2 and week 3 when you're trying to find, yourself and all that. But right now, you're fighting for your playoff life. You're fighting for your playoff life, and I think the Saints need to have a game that reflects that. If you go into this game all laid back and not really trying to be aggressive and not trying to be innovative, you're going to end up losing. And they can't blame anybody but themselves if that's the case, because if we're talking about injuries, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are just as banged up as the Saints. If we're talking about things not going their way, I mean, Tampa Bay Buccaneers would probably say that you're preaching to the choir here. So the Saints have a chance to win this game. I feel the Saints are going to win this football game. I mentioned this on the last episode. I think they're going to win this football game. I think they have a strong chance of winning. I think that they're going to be up for this game. I think everything that transpired in the last game and the Saints knowing that they had the opportunity to beat Tampa and it slipped through their hands and everything that happened with the team and the fighting and the brouhaha, what have you, and also, the comments. I mean, we got to keep it real. The fact that, Devin White coming out talking about, Jameis Winston, talking about he was throwing all them interceptions and we had a top tier team. And, it's basically like he was the one that kind of just squandered it. And also, the whole being on the airplane and chunking up the W's and making fun of the team. So, the Saints are going to be taking this extremely personal. So I expect for the Saints to be motivated to play in this game. I don't expect for the Saints to phone it in, but if it just so happens that they do phone it in, I think that we will have to look at head coach Dennis Allen a little bit more closely. As far as Andy Dalton is concerned, Andy Dalton is 0-12 in his last 12 primetime games. He hasn't won a primetime game in 2014. The fact that, he says that doesn't bother him is a lie. Okay, you can see how animated he is in primetime games. You can see the frustration on his face, all these type of things. Like, you can try to fake it to make it all you want to, but it is a problem. It seems like when the lights are at their brightest, Andy Dalton cannot perform to a high level. I'm saying this right now. I am saying this right now. I don't care if Andy Dalton is as efficient as the male is. If the Saints around this time isn't moving the football, the Saints need to go ahead and pull a quarterback. They need to pull it in order for them to try to find a spark. I don't care if you're putting in Taysom Hill. I don't care if you're putting in Jameis Winston. You have to find a way to win this football game. And it cannot just be about, oh, well, he converted 2 third downs on that drive right there, so let's keep him in the game. If the Saints are not moving the football, if they're not pushing the ball down the field, I mean, Mike Edwards isn't playing in this game. Antoine Winfield Jr. isn't playing in this game. And if the Saints are dinking and dunking and they still don't have results, you have to look at the quarterback position, because you are going to find yourself on the outside looking in, and you're going to be thinking about games like this, that you did not do everything that you possibly can to win. And you were too conservative and you tried to stay too true to yourself. And now you are not in a playoff picture. Andy Dalton, I don't care if he doesn't have an interception. I don't care if he's not turning the ball over. If the guy is not doing what needs to be done by pushing the ball down the field, you have to take him out of the game. It's that simple. I don't care what anybody is saying. I don't care if anybody talking about, well, Well, he completed the ball to Chris Olave. Well, he completed the ball to Kevin White. I don't want to hear that, because the conservative play can sometimes be the biggest issue. When teams know they can sit on routes, when they know the ball ain't going over their head, and they know that pretty much everything is going to be nip and tuck, and there's nothing going to be surprising, they're going to just sit there and just look at it and be like, okay, whatever. I'm saying this right now. I don't care if the dude is as efficient as the male. Once again, if they are not generating a spark, you have got to move on. You have got to move in a different direction, because this doubling down thing that the Saints have been doing by, just instilling, this confidence into Andy Dalton, this whole Andy Dalton experience is not working. Okay, so if you want to win, if you want to make the playoffs, if you want a chance to win a division, honestly, you think Carolina cares about that? Carolina has started P.J. Walker, Sam Darnold, and they started Baker Mayfield in a 3-week span. And they still trying to make the playoffs. Anybody thinking that Carolina phoning it in? No, right? What they're doing is they're going for something that works. So I think the Saints need to follow suit on that. But Andy Dalton, that's my stance on that. As far as the running game, look, Alvin Kamara needs to hold on to the football. I don't think it's something that he doesn't already know or the team doesn't know. Look, accountability has to be key. If guys are fumbling the ball all over the place, putting the ball on the ground, making mistakes, you need to pull them. You need to pull them. An example needs to be made, all right? Because you cannot just wallow in ineptitude. You cannot just wallow in just, it is what it is. Matter of fact type mentality. They got to find a way to win this football game by any means necessary. So those are the keys to victory to me. This is what I feel like the Saints, need to do. As far as the defense, I don't expect Tom Brady to hold on to the ball too long. I mentioned this before. So these guys are going to have to play very, very disciplined in the secondary. These guys are going to have to find ways to make things uncomfortable for Tom Brady the best way that you possibly can. But I don't expect for the Saints to have a sack party on Tom Brady, because I just think that due to the loss of several offensive linemen for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Tom Brady is going to get the ball out of his hands really quickly. So the Saints are going to have to find a way to make sure that they win their matchups and play disciplined football. So those are the things that I'm seeing in this game. Once again, I think the Saints are going to win, but you cannot get in your own way, and you just cannot just continue to be stubborn about certain situations and hoping that they work, or being too lazy to try to change things up in real time because you spend most of the time creating plays for this person. Like come on, man, you got to be able to adjust. That's what good coaches do. That's what coaches, staffs do. All right, so let me go ahead and read some of your comments. Says the Saints had the door wide open and couldn't execute against the 49ers. I was saying this before. I mentioned this. I said the Saints have some of the worst luck in 2022, and I'll tell people what I mean by that. It's unfortunate that it happened, but the Saints played the San Francisco 49ers on last week. They played against Jimmy Garoppolo, right? Jimmy Garoppolo in Miami game goes down for the rest of the season injured. Who's to say if that, I understand the 49ers won 33-14 or something like that against Miami, but who's to say, like, if the Saints would have played against the quarterback that came in after Jimmy Garoppolo, Mr. Irrelevant, who's to say that the Saints wouldn't have had a better chance to win? Who's to say that touchdown that was thrown into the back of the end zone would have happened in the first place? It's just stuff like that, like playing the Cleveland Browns, when Deshaun Watson, even though he looked bad yesterday, is probably going to be able to find his footing, because he's going to, kind of, have some gains under his belt. It's just certain things that happen, like guys who are probably down and injured, for weeks. And then all of a sudden they play the Saints. You got the Baltimore Ravens. They acquire Roquan Smith in the same week. They got to play the Saints, and he was a factor in the game. It just seemed like, the Saints always seem to get the bad luck. And now, Tampa is going to play against the 49ers versus this guy who is known as Mr. Irrelevant. And who's to say, okay, he came into the game, fresh, Nobody really expected him to do anything or didn't understand his tendencies. But now Tampa has an opportunity to take a look at him and be able to come up with a defensive game plan to neutralize him. So if the Saints don't win, now that's huge too, because the Tampa Bay Buccaneers have an opportunity to go up against a guy with very little starting quarterback experience versus the Saints who went up against Jimmy Garoppolo, who has a lot of it. So those are the type of things that I'm talking about when I say the Saints just have some of the worst luck. Let me see. I already read that. If not for Brady, Bowles Bucs would be 2-15. I agree. Baker Mayfield might be better than what we have. Look, I said this before, and I was just saying it as a joke, but I mean, I think there's some merit behind this. I feel like every Saints fan, for some apparent reason, like we have reached rock bottom when it comes to quarterback talk, to a point where any quarterback that can convert 2 third downs on one play, we looking at them like they're the second coming of Joe Montana. Like it's really sad in the Who Dat Nation, to be honest with you. You know, the fact that the most mediocre quarterbacks, we up here like having conversations about them coming to New Orleans. I mean, the standard, I mean, has dropped so tremendously. You know, it's just absolutely like unbelievable. The fact that, you know, we're even like having conversations about Baker Mayfield, the fact that we're having conversations about guys like Taylor Heineke, you know, just the most like mediocre quarterbacks that you're going to find. And we just looking at these guys like they just going to change the Saints' fortunes. The reality is this. The Saints coaching staff, to me, isn't good enough to elevate a quarterback. I say that wholeheartedly. This coaching staff is not good enough to elevate a quarterback. Now, if a quarterback has like certain skill sets, and like a Aaron Rodgers or Brady or Breeze, I feel like they would be able to come in and be able to weather the storm. But a guy like fresh off the street, you know, like willing to open up, you know, a new playbook and be able to be that franchise quarterback. If you teach this guy how to do this and do that, then he can win some games for you. I don't feel like this coaching staff can do it. And if you don't believe me, why would they decide to go with Andy Dalton over Jameis Winston? That's my biggest question. If you don't believe that, because the reason I want people to understand this, Andy Dalton is the starting quarterback for the New Orleans Saints, not because he's that much better than Jameis Winston, but it's because it makes the coaching staff of the New Orleans Saints job easier, because he's pretty much, what's the word I'm looking for? He's boring. All right. He's boring. Like he's not gonna rock the boat. He's not gonna try to push the issue. Even if a guy is wide open, you know, and he got a little separation, he's probably thinking to himself, well, if I throw the ball down there, will the safety catch up with it and I catch in and he'll catch an interception, even if the guy wide open. So let me just go ahead and check it down right here. You know, like, so his play is the reason why he's the starter. A guy like Jameis Winston, you know, is what a lot of coaches feel like is a project, is a guy that's probably going to need somebody like a whisperer in order for you to kind of reel him in and help him see the field almost on every possession, talk to him almost every possession, ask him what he's seen, you know, more involved with him in the film room. That's the reason why. All right. So that, as long as the Saints got this coaching staff right here, I don't care who you bring in. They better be something extremely special. They better be Mahomes. They better be Rodgers. They better be Brady. They better be Breeze. Because if they are a quarterback that is, like a sponge, right, that can absorb information, you know, or a quarterback that's kind of like mediocre, they not going to be able to find ways to elevate his play, and they're not going to be able to polish his play either. That's my opinion about this coaching staff. I don't care who you bring in. You know, like you talk about Baker Mayfield. Now, Baker Mayfield, do I feel like Baker Mayfield is terrible as people making him out to be? No. Do I feel like Baker Mayfield can thrive if he had like a coaching staff that believed in him? If he had like an offensive play caller that can help him see the field, could he play better? Absolutely. I do think that coaching matters. But if Baker Mayfield comes to New Orleans, then it will be the same situation as it is with Jameis. It'll be the same situation as it is with Andy Dalton. A bunch of guys that got talent, but you don't have the coaching staff to bring it out of them. I know someone didn't just say Baker. See, that's what I'm saying. Like the narratives, the teams, the situations, all are bad. Like when we look at Baker Mayfield, no disrespect to anybody, but when we look at Baker Mayfield, a lot of the narratives is the same narratives that it is with Jameis Winston and so many other quarterbacks that have come along, been first overall picks. They've been picked and dissected and misused and abused by mainstream media so much that it becomes a part of our psyche. Like we just automatically just accept that these guys are unfixable. Like we just realize, oh, well, this guy isn't good enough. He sucks. Like look what Carolina doing. Well, let me just say this. They talk about him going to Cleveland. Like let's just keep it a buck. Is Cleveland that much better now as an organization at quarterback with Jacoby Brissett, or even with Deshaun Watson and what you seen yesterday? Are they just leaps and bounds better at quarterback since Baker Mayfield left? I'm just asking a question, because if you're being honest with yourself and not listening to the dirt sheets and not listening to what people are saying about him and just trying to make you laugh and come up with exciting, comical banter, then you'll know that the Cleveland Browns quarterback play is still suspect. I like Jacoby Brissett a lot. Yes, he did beat Tampa, but Tampa sucks this year. So how impressive is that? But Jacoby Brissett isn't moving the needle, and neither is Deshaun Watson at this particular point. So does anybody want to take a look at Kevin Stefanski of his offensive staff and their lack of ability to develop the quarterback? Does anybody want to look at that? Of course not, because the problem is we look at the Cleveland Browns organization and they are so powerful within the organization. They can give information to the media and they can just put it out there. And instead of looking at the Cleveland Browns organization, who has been the epitome of suck for almost 30 years, and we just want to just completely absolve that because they beat the Pittsburgh Steelers in the playoffs a couple of years ago with Baker Mayfield as the quarterback, by the way. Now, all of a sudden, like, we supposed to forget, like, this is one of the worst ran organizations in the NFL. And then you go to the Carolina Panthers, which honestly aren't very good when it comes to organization as well, because their owner isn't a guy who is very personable. And, so how is it that we can just sit up here and just accept what people are saying? I'm a firm believer that a guy can change the narrative of himself if he's put in the right situation. But you need an organization that's going to be able to depend on this guy, and you need a coach that is going to be able to bring it out of the guy. I just think that sometimes we don't look at these organizations, these coaches, these coaching staffs. We just automatically just start looking at the player. But you can have all the talent in the world. You ever had a kid who had talent, ability that you noticed, but maybe you probably don't have the finances, or somebody may not have the finances in order for them to put it inside of the kid in order for him or her to allow their talents to grow. It's kind of the same way. So I can't beat up on a guy because, it's not working out in a certain organization, which I'm seeing it ain't working out for Teddy Bridgewater. It didn't work out for PJ Walker. It didn't work out for Sam Darnold there. It didn't work out for many of the quarterbacks there. So how is it that we can just automatically just make Baker Mayfield public enemy number one? I'm just wondering to myself, when Trevor Lawrence was playing mediocre, and in some ways he's still playing mediocre, but nobody's saying anything about that, right? Ain't nobody saying, oh, it's the Jacksonville Jaguars. We're still constantly giving Trevor Lawrence the knock because everybody just anointed him the second coming of Andrew Luck when he came out of college. So he's going to figure it out. He's going to get it together. But if he has like one more year and he's not in the conversation, then you're probably going to start hearing about him not being good enough. And you're going to probably start hearing about some of the comments that he made during the draft. Football wasn't that the most important thing to him and all that kind of stuff. So they have ways of trying to turn these guys into public enemy number one and make these guys seem like they just not fixable. Like that's just the way that it goes. I feel like Baker Mayfield can't play in the National Football League, but some guys can rise above their situations and play outstanding. Like I feel like Joe Burrow is one of them. I don't think Zach Taylor is a very good coach. I just think that he's a coach with a very good quarterback. And sometimes you have those situations where a coach can be mediocre, but the quarterback makes him not look that way because he can erase some of the things that he does. And then you have guys who have talent, but you may not have a good coach, and they may need a little bit more fine tuning. And that coach, if they're not able to give that quarterback or that player that type of attention, then they probably going to fall by the wayside too. So sometimes you get those lucky breaks, and sometimes you don't. And I just feel like in Baker Mayfield's career, he didn't. I feel like if Baker Mayfield was drafted by the New Orleans Saints, right, a couple of years ago, and he was backing up Drew Brees, and Sean Payton was his coach, do I feel like Baker Mayfield would be a better quarterback than he is today? Absolutely. I do. If he got drafted to the San Francisco 49ers and he was backing up Jimmy Garoppolo and he had opportunity to start, because they decided to move on from Jimmy Garoppolo, do I feel like he would be a better quarterback? Yes, I do. It's about situations, not the person all the time. We will win tonight, and we making them playoffs. Well, I like that enthusiasm. I hope you're right. I wish we could get Jim Harbaugh from Michigan. Jim Harbaugh is an incredible coach. He's a guy that's fiery. He's inspiring. He's one of those guys, sometimes when you have that rah-rah attitude and, you're getting all up in the team face and the referee's face, that can come off as a little bit of college banter. But he's one of those guys who can kind of get away with that. I've never seen that. Normally, when you see coaches like that, it don't really translate to the pros. But in some ways, like we seen that it did. I mean, we know that he can coach on a professional level. I mean, he had the 49ers in the Super Bowl. So it would be great to see him back in the NFL coaching for the New Orleans Saints. But I just don't think that the Saints, based on what I'm seeing and the energy, I think that the Saints really feel like they don't need another head coach. They feel like Dennis Allen is their guy. So I think that all this probably is just wishful thinking right now. Don't really seem like there's much frustration or any type of movement, in my opinion, when it comes to the Saints organization about making a move. Now, TJ, I can't agree with you on the Baker one. He literally isn't good in the pocket, and his IQ is horrible. Who told you that? How many Baker Mayfield games have you sit up there and dissected? Or did you sit up here and watch Baker Mayfield games based on the knowledge that was instilled inside of you? See, sometimes here's the reality. Sometimes we're prisoners of our own bias and don't even realize it. When people come out and they say, Jameis Winston is not a good quarterback, right? And we're not going to go, I don't care what anybody says, like argue with your spouse, argue with your mama. This is the reality. When people come on television and they tell us that a quarterback isn't good, or we feel like that quarterback is not good because they laying it out for us, we automatically go into the situation with a little level of bias. Don't believe me? Why is it that everybody was willing to jump off the Jameis Winston wagon once he had maybe 2 bad games as a New Orleans Saints quarterback? Was it because of what you've seen him play like as a New Orleans Saints quarterback in the past? No, it's because of what happened in 2019, the 30 touchdowns, the 30 interceptions. So everybody just automatically seen when Jameis Winston threw an interception to an opponent, all of a sudden we about to revert back. So now every time Jameis Winston goes back to pass, or he throws it in coverage, or it possibly gets intercepted, we automatically just get triggered and say, oh, no, he's not good. But the question is, how many games do we actually see? How many times have we researched? How many times have we researched like what really going on within the organization or the backgrounds of the guys that's teaching these guys and coaching these guys? How many times have we seen that? All I'm saying is this. How many games did you watch Baker Mayfield unbiasedly before like everybody just started talking about how bad he was, like the Shannon Sharps and so many of these other media personalities? The narrative is the fact that he's not good enough, the reason why Cleveland got rid of him. So automatically we just go into the games watching Baker Mayfield with a level of bias. We go into the games when it comes to Jameis Winston with a certain level of bias. So is Andy Dalton and so many other quarterbacks, Taysom Hill. The narrative that people have been putting out there, regardless if you want to accept that or not, forms our judgment, and sometimes it allows us to not be patient with guys when we need to be, or it makes us not want to ask the questions that need to be asked. We don't go in depth. We just look at the overall person. We look at the quarterback. We look at the movement. We don't look at the play calling. We don't look at the coaching. We don't look at how many failed stops the guy who probably coaching them had. We don't look at what the organization was willing to give them. We don't know what's going on behind the scenes. And we also don't even take into account how these organizations can control a narrative versus these players. Like, for example, everybody is talking about, Michael Thomas and talking about Michael Thomas quitting on the team and Michael Thomas always hurting this, that, and the third. But nobody will give Michael Thomas any type of credit when he should have had surgery towards the end of the season, but he decided to play in that divisional round game versus the Bucs. And he ended up making himself hurt even worse, trying to go hard for the team. But nobody says anything about that, right? Nobody is saying, man, that man is a warrior. That man's working hard. Only thing that we're looking at is, Sean Payton comes to the podium and says, he should have had surgery earlier. But not looking at the fact when the guy probably needed to have surgery, but you were trying to make him prolong it so he can be, maybe effective in a game. All I'm saying is a lot of the things that we become accustomed to or things that we feel like we know about have been basically formulated for us. And a lot of the biases that we have towards people are made funded by some of these talking heads. I haven't seen enough Baker Mayfield games for me to just say that he's a lost cause. I just don't. I've seen really good quarterbacks play really well, and I've seen quarterbacks that suck. Then I've seen mediocre quarterbacks that play really well, and I've seen them suck. And then I've seen mediocre quarterbacks who people just felt like wasn't going to do anything, and they end up being something. So I am not one of those people that just feel like I have seen enough out of a guy who came into the league, 2018, have been on some bad teams. And I'm seeing the same team that he came from still struggle at the quarterback position, not getting much out of that either. So how is it that we can look at the Browns? It's not like, Jacoby Brissett, like looking like Geno Smith or something. It doesn't look like, even Deshaun Watson don't look like he was looking like he was just out there being all world. So why are we not looking at the organization? The Carolina Panthers just fired their coach. They just fired him a couple of weeks ago. So how is it that we're just looking at this guy like he's just a lost cause when we're not looking at the organizations that it came from? It don't seem like they lighten up the world with the quarterbacks that they have, and I don't see improvement either. That's my whole point. Like I just don't accept that. I just don't accept that. I don't accept that this dude can't be fixed. Like this dude just came into the league. Like he ain't been in the league 20 years. I think that organizations matter. I think that situations matter. And if you put a guy in the right situation and under the right scheme, I think that he can thrive. But that's just me. God honest prediction, Saints 622, Bucs -7. When you want to Vegas, huh? Baker is not better than Jameis. Baker needs to go to the CFL. Baker had all the talent in Cleveland and still couldn't get over the hump. Even the team wanted him going. Ask Jarvis Landry. You think Bengals will pay for Burrow? You think, pay him money? Of course. I think they'll pay him. Why wouldn't they? They'll be crazy not to. Think he should be like the highest paid quarterback in the NFL when his contract is up. Jameis' record as a New Orleans starter quarterback, 6 wins. Let me see. I guess you mean 4 losses. 4 touchdowns, 18 interceptions, or 18 touchdowns, 8 interceptions. Winning football, not to mention 2.5 was playing injured. All I'm saying is organizations and situations matter. I don't care, man. We just gonna have to agree to disagree. I don't form my judgment based on ESPN. I don't form my judgment based on Fox Sports. I don't form my judgment based on talking heads talking loud, and you have somebody actually call in and ask a question, and then you got the producers turning down the phone pot so the host can sound louder than the person. Look, I don't buy into all that. Look, ain't nobody about to tell me anything about communications that I don't already know. Ain't nobody about to tell me anything about psychology that I don't already know. If you are privileged enough to study communications or have studied communication, you know about the art of influence. You know how you got some silver-tongued people out there that can make you feel like, oh, they well within their rights to make certain decisions. You got these people out here that can make you move and make you feel and make you think certain things. And you find yourself going to the barbershop with these same talking points, trying to run them off as your own. I don't think if there's there's not a person up in here that just been watching all 22 of Baker Mayfield all day, all night. All the things they're talking about, even the whole Jarvis Landry didn't like him. OBL Beckham Jr. didn't like him. All that stuff right there is stuff that's been talked about during debate tables. Seriously, these are debate topics. Oh, look at Odell Beckham Jr.'s dad. He's tweeting. Look what he tweeted. He's open. Look at the footage that he put out. Look, you see, that's the reason why they're not winning. Okay, whatever. Yeah, man. Do not fall for the banana in the tailpipe, folks. I'm just saying, do your own research. Don't just, as Jim Cornette, the great manager, say lazy booking. Don't just fall for the lazy booking. Like, do your own research. And you just tell me, look at these guys look at some of these coaches. Look at some of the quarterbacks that they worked under. Look at some of the plays that they're asking. Look at some of the guys that they probably learned under. And you tell me maybe some of these guys they possibly be out here just making it off association instead of actual reputation. Winston, Cousin, Goff, Wilson, Tua, or Jones, based on the coaching staff and system, they either shine or bust. And that's another thing, Mel. Thank you. Another case in point. Tua Tagovailoa. That's another one. At the beginning of the season, everybody talking about Tua. Oh, they just got Tyreek Hill. How you gonna be able to get the ball down the field to Tyreek? He ain't gonna be able to do it. He ain't got the arm strength. He not good enough. Tua Tagovailoa has the highest quarterback rating or higher quarterback completion. He is first in the NFL right now, and in the MVP conversation. A couple years ago, give you another example. In preseason, Jamar Chase dropped a couple footballs. Oh, Jamar Chase, he's dropping a football. He's dropping it everywhere. He's going to turn into a bust. Somebody please tell me what happened to that narrative right there. Now Jamar Chase is one of the best and most incredible young wide receivers in all of the game. But like I said, there are narratives that they constantly put out here that people just fall for. And like I said, people was running with these narratives. They was running with the one about Jamar Chase. They was running about the one with Tua. And now we seeing that, okay, Tua has a new coach in Mike McDaniel who can help him see the field and put him in a position to succeed. And people were trying to write this dude off, call him injury prone, and he couldn't play. They were about to set Tua Tagovailoa for the same okie doke as Baker Mayfield is doing. So all I'm saying is you have to be careful with some of the things that you coming out here with, because a lot of these opinions and thoughts and views that you having are basically just kind of instilled inside of your head. It's almost like a song that you didn't really catch the first time. It's a new joint, so they keep on playing it on the radio over and over again. And then all of a sudden, like, you humming a song in the store, you're humming a song in the bathroom, and then all of a sudden, man, let me play the song again. I'm just telling y'all how this thing works. I'm just telling you how it works. That's the art of influence. That's what communication is all about, folks. Welcome to reality. I understand what you're saying, TJ, about the narratives, but yes, I actually analyze games and watch, but I don't know. I just don't trust them, but only time will tell. Lee, look, I understand why you're saying that you don't trust them, because I don't trust the teams that he's playing with. I don't trust the organizations. Bruh, how many, Lee, I just want you to understand something, man. How many times have we seen the Cleveland Browns exhaust their finances bringing in guys in? I've seen them bring in guys like Olivier Vernon. I've seen them bring in guys like Jabril Peppers. I've seen them bring in so many different other guys that they have brought to this organization, and they just didn't pan out. They end up leaving. It was a couple of years ago, like they had this $100 million team, right? And they still couldn't make the playoffs. I'm just saying, like, it's easy for us to just look at certain certain people and just say that's the reason why they're not winning. But how about looking at the entire organization? Like the Cleveland Browns organization stinks. And ever since the Carolina Panthers has gotten new ownership, they haven't been good either. I mean, Teddy Bridgewater even said that on the interview. He was talking about how they just didn't do too many drills and the little things in order to elevate themselves to the next level. So how is it that we can just sit up here and just dismiss those type of things, but just look at the person right there and just say it's an open and shut case, Watson? I can't do it. Like, just like anybody that's sitting up here talking about, the New Orleans Saints and Jameis Winston. Like, how can you just sit up here and just say, okay, man, open and shut, he's not good enough, and not looking at this organization? Look where we are right now. I mean, we talked about the game already on the last episode, so we just chopping it up here. How can you look at this organization and just put it solely on Jameis Winston and say, oh, they're not good? This whole organization as a staff, organization and crew isn't good. They're 4-8. This is the worst record the Saints had since before Hurricane Katrina. They're coming off, it's a shutout loss for the first time in over 20 years. And they're led by a coach who has a losing record before he even got here. And he has a losing record as a member of the Saints organization as their head coach. But this guy isn't good. This guy isn't good. This guy isn't good. What happens? What happens? Like, do the Saints just automatically just fall off the turnip truck? We just automatically just say, man, we're not going to play this year. Or we're going to start looking at who is responsible and what have they put in place? What type of infrastructure have they put in place in order for this team to thrive for years to come? It's easy for us to look at a quarterback. Oh, he threw the ball over the dude's head. But who is putting emphasis on these things? Who is rewinding and fast forward? Who is burning a midnight oil? Who is laying on a cot at 2 a.m. and you can see, the footage going and saying, hey, man, look at that right there. He could have did this. Let me go talk to him when he come in. Who is saying these things? It takes more. Anybody that played organized sports, anybody that ever played football, it ain't just about talent. I was fast and can catch. I'm pretty sure you got a lot of people up here that were fast and can catch. I'm pretty sure you got a lot of big boys out here that was brute strong that can move some people around. But it's more to that. It's more than just being fast and can catch and be able to be elusive. You got to be able to put all those things together. And if you can't just put it together, you got to have somebody that's going to lead you in that direction. And if you don't have somebody to lead you in that direction, how can you possibly grow? And how can we possibly sit up here and just blame these dudes? I mean, it's just it's confusing to me. It is confusing to me how anybody can just accept that. Your whole organization looking like slow, but we talking about this dude, that dude, and what's happening? Why he can't do this? I mean, look at the coaching staff, look at the team, look at the record, and it tells you everything that you need to know. I think that's pretty fair, don't you? Keeping it real, it was fun, man. We got to invite TJ to Kickback Show if he's in. Yeah, I would love to be on the show. I would, man. I would love to be on the show. I just need to find time to come on some of these podcasts. Like I say, I have a lot going on in, personally in life now, taking over the radio station where I'm at right now and doing some of these things. Also, I'm really kind of into it now. You got to reintroduce yourself to the community and come up with all these different projects. And then you got budgets and stuff like that you got to do for the next fiscal year. So, all these different things that we got going on. So, and like in the process, I'm trying to find ways to actually do shows, to try to maintain that. But I would love, to be on shows, and be able to talk Saints football. We did the same formula as the Denver Broncos to bring in an Eagle, bring in Payton Manning to win the Super Bowl. We went 2-1, lost 1. We never got over the hump, and now we're feeling the pain of 20. Well, look, I think the Saints went all in, which was a good idea. They went all in 2020. It just didn't pan out. Sometimes teams do that and it work out. Sometimes it doesn't. Tampa did the same thing in 2020 and they won. Talking heads will collectively form and spout an incorrect clickbait narrative without caring the facts. Has ruined young men's careers. Here's the reality. Nobody wants to hear the truth. People want to hear their truth. Gonna say that again. People don't want to hear the truth. They want to hear their truth. You can literally go on YouTube. You can literally go to Twitter. You can literally go to Google, and any feelings that you have, it can be wrong as I don't know what. You can put in 2 + 2 + 2 = 5, and there's going to be somebody up there talking about how the masses is lying to you about the mathematical formula of 2 + 2 = 4 = 5. You basically can believe anything that you want to believe. If you want to believe that Jameis Winston sucks, type in Jameis Winston sucks, and there are videos galore. If you want to believe that Andy Dalton sucks, there are videos galore. Taysom Hill isn't a quarterback, videos galore. The Saints ain't making the playoffs, videos galore. You can formulate your own reality, and that's the problem. And then also, nobody's going to go back and fact check any of these individuals. They're not going to go back to the crates and figure out what the person is doing or say it, because we're on this informational highway. Right now, everybody is mad about, from a HBCU standpoint, about Deion Sanders leaving HBCU for Colorado, right? But in a couple of days, nobody's going to care about any of these things. It's just that simple. That's how much information is being absorbed. We bottle it up, we absorb it. Well, time to move on. So a lot of these talking heads already know that. They already know that. They know that they can say these things, and tomorrow, if I have a bad outing of it, I can come back and double down on it, or talk about something that I got right to erase the fact that I got wrong. Simple. If you're good at what you do, and a lot of them are, seriously, a lot of them are. I can't even knock them for doing it because they're good at what they do. But you cannot fall for the banana in the tailpipe all the time, folks. Sometimes you got to kind of invest some time and do research on your own to realize that, make your truth and not a spinoff of somebody else's. Okay. Don't let the truth be Cheers and you end up being Frasier. For those that don't know, Cheers, a famous show in the 80s, Frasier was a spinoff of that. All right. So you don't want to be Frasier. You don't want to be a spinoff. All right. You want to be a main show like Cheers. Let's see. Mickey Loomis is responsible. Yes, sir. Incompetent head coach and coaching staff that is highly underachieving. Management has to see it before they move on. Yeah, there is. And that's the reason why. I don't know what these dudes are capable of in the right situation. I just know it wouldn't look as bad as this. I don't think it'll look as bad as this, to be quite honest with you. I think the Saints will still have some issues, but I don't think they will be as bad as this. DA is a great DC and not a head coach. In 2017, we were 0-2 looking back on defense, then went on a run. Just sucks that he can't do it as a head coach. I blame Baker on him choosing Carolina and giving some of his money to the Carolina Panthers, knowing they don't have a coach and they're a bad team. Well, I will say this. Ben Mack, Ben McAdoo, if I'm not mistaken, I guess he was familiar with Baker Mayfield, or he had an issue with Baker Mayfield, but he felt like, okay, man, I can bring him in. He probably can do some good things. So I think that probably was, one of the reasons. And I got to see. I don't know if he signed with them or he got traded to him. I'm not sure. He may have gotten traded to him. So I don't know about that. So if that's the case, he didn't determine his destination. He didn't determine his fate. You know what I'm saying? And even if he did, it probably was, I don't know, the lesser of two evils. Who's to say what other team that he probably would have went to? He probably wouldn't even had a chance to go out there and play at all. So I guess you got to look at it both ways. Step one, hit the like button. Yeah, if you enjoy the show, we got 227 people here right now. Please hit the like button. If you enjoyed the State of the Saints podcast and the content, I'll ask that you hit the like button. Andy Dalton scored 0 points and is still the starter. Ain't no way DA is changing it now. He's just a bad coach. It's really that simple. Look, they didn't score last week, and I mentioned this, and I'm going to say it again. If they are doing the same things they did last week and it's not generating results, you got to pull them. You got to pull him. You cannot wait for an interception or the bottom to fall out for you to pull him. You have to pull this dude. It's just that simple. Like if you play like you did last week, I'm serious. I will continue to do the State of the Saints podcast. I won't stop for the rest of the season. But if the Saints play as conservative as they've been in weeks past, when you just lost and you got to win these games. You got to throw caution to the wind. You got to win this game. If they still approaching these games with the same lackadaisical, boring, vanilla type way, I just think that we just need to just completely just disconnect ourselves from this season as a whole. Like seriously, like right now, we want to see this team win because there's a chance, but I just think that we just need to disconnect it. Seriously, because if you don't have a sense of urgency after everything that has transpired, if you don't have a sense of urgency about everything that is going on right now, and you're still playing the game like, oh, all of a sudden, like we just got everything in the palm of our hands and we don't need to do this. If you're still playing like that, I just think that we just need to go ahead and just suspend like all of our energy away from this team. Seriously, until they figure out what they need to do with the coaching position. Because if you don't have a fire under your behind after everything that has gone on this season, if you're not thinking about ways where you can get out this hole, if you're not trying to find innovative ways to make your team more effective, which calls maybe to be a little bit more aggressive, and you're still acting as if, okay, we're going to run the ball 3 times. Okay, the third time, make sure that you run towards the center so it can be a straight shot for a field goal for Will Lutz, because, he doesn't really like those angle kicks. Like, if you're playing like this and thinking like that, they need to move on. Because, quite frankly, I still think they need to move on because the energy sucks on this team. Like, how can you possibly believe in a coach that don't even believe in you? It's 4th and 1, you on your 45-yard line, and you don't even want to go for it, don't even try to get 1 yard. When you got Taysom Hill on your team. Taysom Hill, Mr. QB Power himself. So 4th and 1 on a 45, you don't even try to run the football. You just say punt team. So you know what you're saying, that you know what you're saying to your offense? You're not good enough to get a yard. So if you don't think I'm good enough to get a yard, why should I believe that you're good enough to coach me out of this situation? Fair enough? That's all I'm saying. Question, why isn't, let me see. I guess what is Andy giving Payton a shot to come back to the Saints? He has never officially ruled that out. Look, he's not coming back, man. He's not coming back. Sean Payton don't want you. I'm going to say it again. Sean Payton does not want you. So, like, I want people to put that in their mind. Sean Payton does not want you. If Sean Payton wanted you, he would have stayed. It's just that simple. If Sean Payton wanted you, he wouldn't have been talking behind the scenes with, different networks behind the scene in last year, trying to finesse his way to Miami with Tom Brady. If he wanted you, then he wouldn't have come up with this whole thing. I'm trying to step down, need to take a mental health break, because your mental health was not a big concern when you was out here trying to finesse your way to Miami. Sean Payton does not want you anymore. He does not want to be the head coach of the New Orleans Saints. He wants to move on. He had a franchise quarterback in Drew Brees. Drew Brees, along with him, made magical moments. They put up offensive numbers that, won't be replicated. They have solidified themselves as one of the best coaching quarterback tandems in NFL history. And now he looked at this coaching staff. He looked at this team. He looked at this quarterback room. And this man said that he wanted to get himself an established quarterback. And it's something that we already seen. I don't understand how anybody can be like, well, TJ, that ain't true. Well, riddle me this. When the Saints were looking at Drew Brees, and it was towards the twilight of his career, question to all the members of the Who Dat Nation that don't want to believe this: why is it that Sean Payton don't want to go out here and draft rookies? Why didn't he go out here and try to get a replacement for Drew Brees? Why does Sean Payton continuously, instead of him trying to get guys that are young coming into the organization to develop under Drew Brees, he would instead go out there to get guys like Luke McCown. He would constantly get guys, that have been seasoned veterans around here, in the league, instead of going out here trying to get a young guy. Sean Payton has never been a fan of a young rookie quarterback. So anybody that feels like, well, if we get a Bryce Young, if we get a CJ Stroud, if we get a Hendon Hooker, then he's going to come back. No, he does not. He will not come back. He wants an established quarterback. Just the reason why he was talking with Tom Brady. Tom Brady, an established quarterback. Look at the Los Angeles Chargers, Justin Herbert, an established quarterback. Even Kyler Murray, to a certain extent, is an established quarterback. He does not want to be in his organization. He wants a franchise quarterback that has top 10 talent if he can polish that. And the Saints didn't give it to him. The Saints didn't have it. And now he wanted to move on. I really don't understand why anybody is still sitting up here trying to advocate for Sean Payton. The dude does not want you anymore. He did not want you anymore. Just that simple. If Sean Payton wanted to still be here, he would have been here. Who's going to get rid of Sean Payton? Who's going to just sit up there and be like, man, Sean Payton, look, I know we didn't make the playoffs. Man, get up out of here. Sean Payton could have been here if he wanted to. That's why I got respect for individuals like Bill Belichick. Say what you want to say, all right? I know he got Bailey Zappi out there and Mac Jones, and they going through some troubled times, but guess what? He didn't say, oh, Tom Brady was here for 20 years. Tom Brady leaves, so I'm going to go ahead and step down because I want to cement my legacy, and I don't want people to look at me a different type of way, because that's what it all came down to, his legacy. And he felt like his legacy could possibly be tarnished if he was to not find another quarterback that can be similar to, or find a quarterback that can be on the level of a Drew Brees. And if that quarterback becomes mediocre instead of astronomical like Drew Brees was, it would poo-poo on his legacy. And none of those quarterbacks on the team he felt like had a chance to solidify themselves or be on a playing field or even make you think that they can trump what Drew Brees has done. But Justin Herbert can. Kyler Murray, in some cases, he can. And also, even with the whole Kyler Murray situation, the Arizona Cardinals don't have a rich tradition of great quarterback play. So if he goes to the Arizona Cardinals and he turns Kyler Murray into a serviceable quarterback for 4 to 5 years, guess what? Kyler Murray is going to break every statistical record by a quarterback in Arizona Cardinals history. And it's still going to make him look like he's the best coach smoking. Sean Payton does not want you, Who Dat Nation. So let's just go ahead and move on and see where we're at. We have a coach that we feel like isn't the answer, and we just need to go from there. Like, let's just stop wasting your time. I agree, but it's all speculative till he says it correct. Man, you can say whatever you want. Like, let me put it to you like this, Johnny. It's all speculative, right? If you're married, your wife says she loves you. For 5 days, you don't see her. She don't come home. You call the phone, you text her, she don't answer. You get in the bed at night, she ain't there. You wake up, she ain't there. She come back 5 days later. Are you going to, not going to ask her what the heck is going on? Or are you just going to be like, well, she loves me. She said it. She said it. Until she tells me she don't love me, I don't believe it. Vice versa if you have a husband. Until he tells me he loves me, he doesn't love me. Until he tells me he doesn't want me anymore, it's all speculation. A person doesn't have to tell you this. If you're waiting for a guy to tell you this in a sports realm, you're wasting your time. There's nothing but a bunch of PC and a bunch of, a bunch of blame pleasantries there. Politically correct banter. So you think he's going to come to the podium and say, guess what? I just want to make this plain and simple. I ain't trying to take up too much of anybody's time. The fact is, I don't want to be the coach of the New Orleans Saints anymore. I ran my course. I coached this team for 15 years, 16 if you want to include the whole Bounty Gate thing that I wasn't there. I don't want to be here anymore. Thank y'all very much. God bless. Good night. And that will put your mind at ease. I don't have to, Johnny. I don't have to, my friend. I don't have to. Sometimes your actions can speak louder than your words. His actions by trying to have these backdoor deals, talking with Stephen Ross, talking about Tom Brady coming with him as a package deal. You don't have to have a conversation. Your actions can prove otherwise. So I'm just saying, like, we sitting up here, oh man, until the facts come out. Like, are you kidding me? Somebody treat you like garbage? Like, they got to tell you they treating you like garbage? How many people are not in relationships right now because Then the person didn't tell them they treat them like garbage, but you felt as if you were garbage. So, I mean, you can keep on holding on to this whole ray of hope. Oh, Sean Payton, oh thou great coach, please rain down your coaching manna upon me to coach my team to a Super Bowl victory. You can do all that all you want to, but you're wasting your time. The dude does not want to be here. I'd rather talk about how we can finesse our way into some better draft capital and maybe move this team into a different direction versus a coach that don't want to be a part of the Saints organization anymore. Simple as that. Simple as that. Like, I ain't sitting up here trying to wonder why this girl didn't come home for 5 days. I ain't trying to wonder why this guy, if you're, you know what I'm saying, if you're dating a guy, why he hasn't come home for 5 days. Okay, you know, come on, look, man, look. When you get here on the 5th day, tote right here, clothes right here, whatever you got over here, all right? You already made up your mind. Now it's time for me to move on and try to figure out what's new for me. Seriously, that's what we need to be at. All this Sean Payton talk is just a waste of time, man. All this Sean Payton stuff is just a waste of time. Like, we wasting our time talking about this whole situation. This man straight up treeped out the door on you, and you still up there talking about I can change. What did you do to change? Why do you need to change? I can change for you. Man, run me my draft picks. That's what you can do for me. Run me my draft picks. If you don't want to be here, run me my draft picks. That's all I'm talking about. Get me a guy that's going to be able to win. Give me some players that's going to be able to win. Give me a quarterback that can lead my team into the next generation. TJ, boy, you said a mouthful. So very true about Sean waiting to protect his legacy. Actually, he ran us into the ground, then walked away when he knew it was about to hit the fan. He's dead to me. Look, all I know is this. You can say what you want about Belichick. You can talk about deflated footballs. You can talk about cheating scandals and what have you. But one thing that you can't say about Bill Belichick. Bill Belichick got 6 Super Bowls. Well, he got 6 Super Bowls. He could have easily walked away. This man right now has a 500 team, and he's still willing to coach and say, hey, I'm a football coach. And one guy is not going to stop me from trying to bring this team back to the promised land. That's respect. That's respect right there. But for a guy to sit up here and just be like, you know, oh, things about to fall, and start looking at themselves and talking about their legacy. Oh, you know, like, and probably just thinking, well, you know, the guy that's on this team, they're not going to take me where I want to go. So let me go somewhere else that has a quarterback that already has the ability to take me where I want to go. I'm not even going to try to do it here. So that's the way I look at it. And miss me with that stuff. Well, when Sean Payton came here, the Saints weren't very good. Well, when Bill Belichick went to the Patriots weren't very good either. Now, you could talk about Super Bowls and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, they've been, but they never won. And yes, you know what I'm saying, the morale of the team. And if you follow the Patriots, you know, like from ownership to ownership, and guys not really caring about the organization and not putting forth the money, they have bad history too. The way that New England Patriots fans feel right now has a lot to do with Bill Belichick, just like the feelings of the New Orleans Saints have a lot to do with the coaching of Sean Payton. But the difference is Bill Belichick just didn't, you know, just run away at the first line of trouble. And honestly, he probably had more right to do so. He won 6 Super Bowls. Sean Payton won 1. So it's hard for me to just sit up here and just, you know, accept that. I hope Sean Payton gets a job elsewhere so we can get some picks and compensation for that. We still have cap issues, plus AK and Marcus May will probably be suspended next year. That's why you got to find ways to finesse your way into some good draft capital to get some pieces that you need, man. I feel the same way. He straight up bounced. Bill stayed with the Pats when Brady was out. Mike Tomlin stayed when Ben left. Sean made a weak move by leaving. Exactly. And yes, those guys are going through growing pains, but guess what? Those guys are real about theirs. They were willing to accept that. Like, you think Mike Tomlin don't think about the fact that he never had a losing season as a head coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers, and he about to probably have one this year? You don't think he thought about that? But that didn't make him, oh, let me go up here. Let me call Minnesota. You know, I came from them. I think they needed a new head coach. Maybe we can do something there. Did he do that? Bill Belichick, you know, like, was he looking for greener pasture? Maybe he was thinking about going down to Miami. Maybe I can work with Tua Tagovailoa. Did he do that? No, those guys stayed exactly where they were. But instead, Sean Payton used the biggest cop-out in history and a topic that a lot of people are dealing with, which is mental health, and used it as a scapegoat. I have no respect for that, because here's the reality. You have people out here that's really dealing with mental health and really dealing with mental health issues. And even though you probably have some mental things, but it's not to a degree where you have to step down, because it couldn't have been, because you were willing to still be coaching another team this year. So miss me with that. Okay, that's a cop-out, and that was whack. I got a lot of respect for Sean Payton, but it is what it is. Amen, brother. I'm single right now because of it. It's not what I was told, it's what I was shown. Exactly. See, we still looking for things to be drawn out for us, right? We still want the treasure map. Treasure map lead us around the corner, and here's the treasure right here, right? We want things to be so matter of fact that they can't be disputed. But it's crazy to me. We come up with these conspiracies based on based on feelings. We come up with these conspiracies based on feelings, but we want words to validate that. I don't know. I feel like, but until he says this, come on. I agree with you, TJ. Those are real coaches. Sean was acting like Pretty Boy Floyd because of his record. The greats will fight it out like Manny Pac-Man. Yeah, you got to be able to see it through. Those are the people I respect. It's easy. It's almost like the story of the little red hen, right? Nobody wanted to help the hen make the bread, right? But when it was time to eat, everybody wanted a slice. Everybody wanted to cook it up, right? But when it was time to put that work in, nobody wanted to do it. And I ain't just completely dismiss Sean Payton. I mean, he put the work in. He built this organization to a point where it's respected the way that it is. But at the same time, I just feel like he just kind of dipped out when, he realized that he was really going to have to work a little bit harder. Show right, TJ. He really sold on us, and the players had to learn over a press conference instead of keeping it a G. Yep. To top it off, he advocated for DA. There's no way Payton didn't know DA would be the same horrible head coach he was with the Raiders. You got to be a certain type of person to be successful as a head coach. Sean Payton knew. Don't let nobody tell or show you twice that they don't want you. Yeah, that's life. That's life experience. That's life advice. That's life experience. That's all that. But we're gonna go ahead and get up out of here. Where Chosen says Dennis Allen should have taught y'all that you need to be shown than told. Look how many times he lied about injuries and players playing, but that's what he said. But what did you see? Same thing. Yeah. We got to use our own advice sometimes. Sometimes it sounds good, and sometimes we even need to say it out loud so we can be receptive of it. But final thought about this game, week 13, Saints need to win. Big game, big implications. You got yourself a bye week. You don't want to have a bye week where you have 2 weeks with a bad taste in your mouth, even though the Saints have lost 2 straight games several times. So you done had 2 straight weeks of bad taste in your mouth anyway. But you don't want to go into the bye week with a loss. You want to feel like you can come out of your bye week with a chance to possibly make the playoffs and win division, and you can make this game versus the Atlanta Falcons even more interesting if you can get that victory, because that would actually put you in first place, as long as the Carolina Panthers, of course, slip up when they decide to come back. But here's the reality. Got to win tonight. Got to do everything that you can. You got to throw caution to the wind, and you cannot accept defeat. You got to keep on fighting. Tonight will decide what the 2022 Saints really are down the stretch. Are they just a team that just, saying Cancun on 3, or, I'm going to put enough on tape where I look like I'm fighting, so maybe I can get a job here, and if I can get a job somewhere else, or we going to try to win the whole dang thing? You know, can we be that team that gets hot? And I don't know if you make the playoffs, and I don't think you're gonna win nothing. But I ain't gonna lie, if you can make the playoffs and go to Minnesota and beat them and hurt the feelings of the Minnesota Vikings fan base one more time, the way that they hurt us in the division round, that would be great. Or if you can win a game and then go up to Philly and knock off Philly for embarrassing you by taking your safety and C.J. Gardner-Johnson and making him a safety that leads the league in interceptions, or the team that has a 6th pick in the draft, even though they got the 1 seed in the NFC as of right now. If you can do something like that, maybe play a spoiler. But regardless, it means nothing if you don't win this game tonight. So hopefully the Saints get the job done. But thank y'all so much for checking out the State of the Saints podcast. Really do appreciate it. Shouts out to everybody here. 219 of you, please hit the like button on your way out if you have not already. And if you're new, please subscribe to the YouTube channel, youtube.com, search The State of the Saints podcast. We're also available on facebook.com. Search The State of the Saints podcast, and you can check out previous episodes on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, as well as Anchor FM. Till next time, all I got to say is